So we look actually at the whole world economy, and we have downgraded our forecast. And just to keep this in mind, when you talk about 1.7%, this is the lowest growth rate in 3 decades, barring the recession of 2020 and 2009. So this is serious. Now, there are 3 major growth poles in the world, is the US, the Eurozone, as well as China. In the case of China, you know that particularly of COVID, the economy contracted very, very seriously, not in a negative territory, but for Chinese standards, it was low. And therefore now with a reopening and COVID restrictions lifted, we see there more upward potential. But it is still below the long-term average growth of China. Also the Eurozone we have as flat, and the US as 0.5. Now clearly there are many reasons why there has been this downgrade. It is basically that we see recessionary trends in many countries. We have seen the fallout of the war in Ukraine and the effects on commodity markets. There are still lingering issues with supply chains. So this has made it for a complicated operating environment, and therefore we have downgraded our original forecast.
ضمن نفس التوقعات وضعتم تخفيض واضح لنمو الاقتصاد الأمريكي في 2023 وتم تخفيضه ل 0.5%، وقلتم أن السبب في ذلك هو السياسة النقدية المتشددة. هل توافقون أو ما هي نظرة البنك الدولي لوضع أولوية الانفليشن ريت معدلات التضخم على النمو لكل من الفيدرالي الأمريكي والECB الأوروبي المركزي؟
I think that we need to see that differently. First of all, we have gone through a period of almost 40 years of very low inflation, that all out of sudden inflation increased because of a variety of factors fairly rapidly at the end of 2021, early 2022, and that required action of the central banks. I think one needs also to say that you see that their actions are seeing first results, that inflation is falling now in the United States for a couple of months, also now in the Eurozone. These are difficult decisions to be taken by central banks, and what I think all are trying to do is to manage inflation, so downwards, while managing a soft landing that avoids a recession. And that is a delicate manner, and I think that is where they have been working on. But one needs also to say that there have been encouraging results on the inflation front. That doesn't mean that there are remaining challenges.
ما هو توقع البنك الدولي للاقتصاد في أوروبا؟ هل نتحدث عن soft landing أو hard landing؟ أزمة أو لا؟
I think that I have learned not to speculate on this one, because basically what you are seeing is these, whether this is flat or 0.3 or 0.5, as you say, these are fairly low rates, and it is difficult. And you see that there is stress from the fiscal to on labor markets to, and therefore I think the dimension for policymakers doesn't change too much whether you get a 0.2% growth rate projection or 0.4. I think that remains pretty much the same.
مع عودة فتح الاقتصاد الصيني، ما هي نظرة البنك الدولي لهذه العودة وعودة الطلب معها، وبالتالي ما يترتب على ذلك من ارتفاع في الأسعار وبالتأكيد معدلات تضخم أعلى؟
Well, I think, first of all, everybody is welcoming that when countries can go back to normal. I think all countries in the world have gone through a terrible phase with COVID, and every country is happy if there is some sort of normalization. So I think that part is, maybe part of the good news. I think that once China grows more, there will be more increase for inputs, including for, for oil and gas, etc. But we'll need to see, because it also depends on the supply side. And what you have been seeing is in the last couple of months, certainly commodity prices have been trending downwards. Also for oil has fallen significantly. And so I think the jury is out. I would not speculate where it will be in a couple of months or later on. It will depend on the interaction between supply and demand.
العالم على شفير أزمة اقتصادية جديدة، هي الثانية في حوالي 3 أعوام. ما هي الرسالة التي يرسلها البنك الدولي من هذا المنبر، من المنتدى الاقتصادي العالمي في دافوس؟
Act now, stay solidaric with developing countries, particularly with the poorest countries, and fight not only poverty, but you have to do that together with other global challenges. And these global challenges at this stage is particularly climate and fragility.